After marrying my childhood deaf friend, we had nightly revelries. No love involved, just pure technique. When the 5-year agreement ended, I originally planned to terminate it immediately, but then I remembered how he risked being hit by a car while buying me caramel apples despite his deafness, and my heart softened in an instant. It wasn't until I later decided to discuss with him whether we should continue living like this that I overheard his brother teasing him in the hallway. "Bro, are you addicted to playing deaf?" Liam toyed with his hearing aid, leaning against the wall with a low chuckle. "Only when I'm deaf can she truly be herself without restraint." Standing just on the other side of the wall, I froze, which meant all those risque jokes I'd told in bed. Had he heard every single one? Everyone else has childhood sweethearts they secretly adore. Not me. I purely loathe mine. Loathe him for stink bombing me as a kid, leaving me reeking. Loathe him for gumming up my hair in middle school. Loathe him for skipping class in high school and making me take the fall. While others got attentive childhood friends, mine feels like the main product was sold out. They just randomly tossed me the sticky freebie instead. All these years I've spent with him, not a single good thing came of it, yet the bad stuff could fill sacks. Fortunately, he went abroad right after high school, letting me peacefully get through 4 years of university. Who could have guessed that right after graduation, I'd see the last person I wanted to encounter from my youth? Even worse news, the family business went bankrupt, and my unreliable father intends to marry me off for an alliance. My hearing might never recover. I'll be half disabled from now on, if you don't want. Across the table, Liam hung his head. The crisp lines of his expensive suit couldn't conceal his self-doubt, bearing no trace of the carefree youth he once was. When I remained silent, Liam's pink knuckles whitened from clutching too tight, his eyes brimming with something broken. I understand. I'll tell Mr. Miller to cancel." Wait. Suddenly I snapped back to reality, finally realizing what he had just said. Ears broken? In a flash, I sprang up and quickly closed the distance between us, only then noticing the hearing aid beneath his tousled hair. "Chloe Miller, does humiliating me amuse you?" Liam's eyes darkened, his voice tinged with that familiar edge of clenched teeth frustration. "How did it break?" Liam was stunned. I didn't know how to use the induction cooker when studying abroad. Blew it up. I'll marry you. I'll marry you." Covering his lips that were about to speak again, I met his dazed puppy dog eyes, desperately suppressing the wild joy in my heart. Since childhood, I could never out-argue Liam. For every insult I threw at him, his machine gun mouth would rattle off 10 in return. Damn it. Once I take off his hearing aid, I'll curse him to death. Liam, you fucking dog. Covering my swollen, stinging lips, I viciously pushed against Liam's muscular chest. Didn't budge him. Instead, he pressed closer. The pain made me cry out involuntarily. "Liam, don't you dare move. Get the hell off me." Liam paused mid-motion, squinting at my lips. "Wifey, what are you jabbering about? Can't read your lips." Having said that, he resumed his actions. "Honestly, I give up. Can't you just put your hearing aid on?" I reached for the hearing aid on the bedside table. A scorching large hand forcefully covered mine, pulling it back and aggressively interlocking our fingers before shoving them above my head. Liam's burning breath cascaded over my neck. A shiver ran down my spine. I looked up. The man lazily lifted his eyelids, his gaze deep and dark, voice husky. "Darling, hearing isn't necessary when we're doing this kind of thing." That day after reaching an agreement at the restaurant, Liam and I immediately went to City Hall to get married. But I kept my wits about me. After all, this was just a marriage of convenience. At its core, a mutually beneficial arrangement built on mutual exploitation. Just help the family business survive this crisis. Surely I don't have to sacrifice my entire life to this person. It's not like I like him anyway. 5 years as the limit. Liam was pressured by his parents to marry, needing a presentable and sensible wife for appearances, and he happened to be the most suitable candidate among my arranged marriage options. Mutual benefit. When the benefits end, so does this. Liam readily agreed and signed the contract. On my wedding night, lying on the crimson bridal bed, I was suddenly gripped by fear. My consideration still hadn't been thorough enough. He wanted a wife. I needed a marriage alliance. This was marriage, not some child's play. Were we really supposed to do that? Lost in thought, the sound of trickling water from the bathroom gradually ceased. Liam stepped out naked, with only a towel wrapped around his waist. Steam rose in the air. His hair hadn't been dried, still damp and clinging to his forehead, water dripping from the ends. Tracing down his chest, the droplets flowed along the contours of his abs. Squinting slightly, I noted Liam still had that classic V-shaped torso, broad shoulders, tapered waist. Before my gaze could wander lower, Liam stepped toward me. My heart clenched. Was he going to? I swallowed hard. "That fast? Liam, I don't think I'm ready." As he moved past my side, I suddenly shut my eyes and clutched the quilt corner with a death grip. A gust of wind blew by. The imagined touch never reached me. The wardrobe door was wide open beside us. Liam, holding a bundle of cotton quilts, smiled at me. "I'll sleep next door." Think I'm not good enough? I looked down at myself. Sure, it's not huge, but this humiliation is too much. Liam, do you think I'm too small? A wave of anger from wounded pride surged up from my core. Liam didn't turn around. What do you mean? This arranged marriage wasn't just my decision. Do you actually look down on me? I'm at least a C cup. Is it really that small? Humph, as if you're so great, came a frenzied outburst. Yet Liam didn't even turn his head. One more step and he'd truly have entered the adjacent room. Blinded by rage, I sprang from the bed and pounced onto his back. Fulfill your marital duties with me, I demanded, as Liam wore an utterly bewildered expression while the towel round his waist went flying from my kick. The moment my thoughts were sent flying while lying in bed, I realized it wasn't that he was deliberately provoking me. That guy wasn't wearing his hearing aid at all. The union with Liam turned out happier than I'd imagined. We were old acquaintances to begin with. Add to that, he'd already become the company's successor by the time we married, busy every day to the point of being invisible in daylight. All that was left for me was peace and quiet, and a credit card. Liam finished his last spoonful of congee, straightened his cufflinks, picked up the documents beside him, and headed for the door. I lifted my head from the porridge bowl. You've been so busy lately. The clock on the side showed it was only 8 in the morning. In the past, after having breakfast with Liam, he would always stay home to watch the news for a while or chat with me briefly before leaving. Liam adjusted his tie and walked to the doorway to change his shoes. Dad's got a project with a tight deadline lately. I'll go oversee the progress. When he says our dad, he usually means my father. Counting the years, this is already the 4th year we've spent together. He's still putting his heart into working for my father. Then I thought of that agreement again and blurted out without thinking. Our arranged marriage is almost at the end of the agreed term. You don't need to go through so much trouble working for him. Liam paused with his hand on the doorknob. The atmosphere grew silent. Though our marriage originated from a contract, these 5 years together were genuinely lived. Saying this now makes it sound like I'm kicking him to the curb after getting all the use out of him. I was just about to explain that wasn't what I meant when Liam hurriedly spoke first. I've been too busy lately. We'll talk about it another time. Oh right, I'm going on a business trip tonight. Message me if you need anything. Before leaving, I noticed him fiddling with his hearing aid uncomfortably. In that moment, it felt like a silver needle had pierced my heart, sending waves of panic through me. He's feeling inferior again, inferior because of his hearing problem. Did he just think that I was looking down on him for being disabled? 5. Initially, I planned to terminate the agreement as soon as the 5 years were up. But over these 4 years, we've gotten along exceptionally well in every way. As long as Liam isn't traveling for work, we basically party every night. On ordinary days when there's nothing special going on, Liam would still accompany me shopping, to amusement parks, or on trips. I didn't initially think of him as husband material after all. We've been childhood friends for years. Hanging out together never felt awkward or uncomfortable in the slightest. Even after being together for so long, there are still nights when I can't get used to sleeping without his embrace. Like right now, lying alone on this vast empty bed, staring at the blank message box on my phone, my heart feels inexplicably restless. Yet he clearly said this morning before leaving that we could message if anything came up. It's been 3 hours since I sent my messages, and there's been no response from the other end. Damn it. Could he have been hit by a car? A sudden chill ran through my body, jolting me upright in bed. Last Christmas, Liam and I didn't go back to either of our parents' homes for the holiday. Instead, we just stayed home and made a simple hot pot together. After eating, the two of them walked out together, sharing one long scarf wrapped around them. Seeing the caramel apples by the roadside, I nagged to have one. Liam emerged from the scarf, wrapped me up snugly again, and told me to wait right there while he went to make the purchase. It was just a street, that's all. But who knew that day a car's brakes would fail? Liam wasn't wearing his hearing aids, walking towards me while smiling and waving that caramel apple in his hand. If it weren't for Liam jogging the last couple of steps, I wouldn't dare imagine the consequences. He hadn't the slightest awareness of how close danger had been, still grinning like an idiot. Stuffing the caramel apple into my hands, he said he'd gotten one of each for me, telling me to eat my fill. My own dad couldn't even be bothered to buy me caramel apples, while Liam wished he could pluck the stars from the sky for me. Was it that I was frightened by the sudden accident that day? Or was it that Liam looked too radiant under the street light? My heart skipped a beat without warning. Now, Liam is a good man, though he was a jerk in his youth. Beep. My phone vibrated, pulling me back from my thoughts. Liam, just finished the meeting. What's up? The heart lodged in my throat sank back into the left side of my chest. Suddenly, I felt certain words needed to be spoken. I should tell him face to face. 6 hours later when I arrived in Denver, It was already mid-morning the next day. No flights were available overnight. I caught the earliest morning flight possible. After landing, I learned his exact location from Liam's assistant and rushed there without a moment's delay. What should I say when I see him in a moment? Maybe continuing like this wouldn't be so bad. Liam is a decent choice for settling down. We know each other inside out, even though he's gone deaf. Whether we like each other or not doesn't usually matter much for families like ours. I think I wouldn't mind spending my life with him. His abs are perfect to touch. His face is so soft to knead, and his lips are just right for kissing. Plus, when I take off his hearing aids, I can curse at him all I want without consequences. Can other men pretend to be deaf when they hear me swearing? I suppose only someone like Liam could meet all my requirements. Suddenly, I regretted being too shrewd at the time. I wonder if Liam would be willing to nullify the agreement and stay with me. Finally gathering my courage, I went upstairs. I pulled my phone from my coat pocket and prepared to call Liam. From behind the stairwell came a familiar voice. Dude, addicted to playing deaf? Playing deaf? I halted my steps and slightly tilted my head. A familiar face came into view. He's Liam's good buddy. I met him when Liam took me to that cocktail party before. Liam stood with his back to me, idly playing with the hearing aid he'd removed from his ear. Half his face was shadowed in darkness, yet his tone carried amusement. Only when I play deaf can she truly be herself without restraint. But your hearing recovered months ago. You can't possibly keep this from her forever, can you? Let's see how it goes. Alright, bro. But you should tell her sooner rather than later. After all, you're married. Keeping secrets isn't good. My mind went blank. I didn't hear the rest of what was said. It seemed like they were heading to a meeting, walking side by side. I slipped into the nearby fire escape, trying to process their words. Liam's hearing is fine. The reason he hid it from me was to let me be myself without constraints. He never wears his hearing aid at home. I thought he just wanted some quiet to focus on work. Who would have guessed his hearing was actually improving? All this time I've been acting crazy at home thinking he couldn't hear me. Does that mean he heard all those loud farts I let out in the living room? And worse, did he also hear all those dirty jokes I muttered in bed? Holy shit. 7. As I fled to the airport to return home, Liam's call suddenly came through. My assistant said you came looking for me? Hiss. I almost forgot. I'd asked his assistant about his location. My steps faltered upon entering the airport as I babbled incoherently. Just bored at home. Came for some sightseeing. What a coincidence. I clutched my phone tightly, staring fixedly at the tips of my shoes. Liam's face involuntarily surfaced in my mind again. This was exactly my intention, but those things I said in bed. He heard everything, whatever, we're still technically married after all. What's wrong with spouses exchanging pillow talk? Is it illegal? Am I really going to be taken away by the police? I psyched myself up once more, took a deep breath, and finally spoke. I'm at the airport. Come pick me up. Once again, I had overestimated my mental resilience and thickness of skin. When Liam appeared before me, I couldn't help but blush. Is it too warm here? I looked up to see the man wearing the same dark gray suit I'd spotted in the corridor earlier, exuding an air of aristocratic nonchalance. It looks like he came straight from a meeting. He took the suitcase from my hand and naturally held my other hand, shielding me on the inner side of the sidewalk. I'm heading back tomorrow, staying here tonight. Want to come home with me? He watched the traffic light and smiled, as if in a particularly good mood. Burying my face in my scarf, inexplicably infected by his cheerfulness, I nodded. 8. Late at night, I slipped under Liam's covers after showering. It really was warmer sleeping beside Liam. I wrapped my arms around his waist and buried myself deeper into his chest muscles. That familiar citrus scent, Liam's natural body fragrance. It smells so good. Every time I bury myself in his embrace, I sleep a little more soundly. I couldn't resist hugging him tighter and inhaling deeply, completely unaware of the rising body heat beside me. By the time I realized what was happening, I was already pinned beneath him. The atmosphere grew hazy. Our noses touched. Our slightly hurried breaths became entangled. I've said before, Liam is a skilled kisser. From my forehead, to my eyes, the bridge of my nose, lips, collarbone. It's as if with electric currents, sending shivers through me again and again. Restrained yet longing when I opened my eyes, already dazed, wanting to be closer to him. Liam, I want you. Suddenly sober. The legs hooked around his waist suddenly stiffened. I abruptly remembered what he'd said to his brother in the hallway. Liam could hear. He could hear. Yet he just kept burrowing into his task as if completely oblivious. I bit my lip and swallowed the words that were still on the tip of my tongue. Damn faker. Probably getting off on listening to himself all this time. Acting's nothing special, anyone can do it. I closed my eyes again, my tense body gradually relaxing, remaining silent with my lips sealed. Liam fumbled for a while, as if sensing something amiss, yet unable to reveal that he could hear. He could only continue his movements. In my dazed state, he hooked my hand and pressed it against his stomach, his damp eyelashes making him look like a fox, both pure and wild. I recalled what I had said before, "You're amazing, darling. Hubby is here. Hubby's crying so much I can't." Enough. I clenched my teeth hard, holding on to my last line of defense. Liam seemed determined to challenge me, his damp eyes fixed intently on me while his movements grew fiercer. I couldn't hold back any longer. I opened my mouth, but the words that came out took an abrupt turn. "Liam, have your skills gotten worse?" I could clearly feel the person on top of me stiffen. He had to keep going, tilting his head with an innocent look, staring at my lips and asking what I'd said. I held back my laughter. "I said you're terrible." Someone was furious but didn't dare speak up. "Oh right, you're not wearing your hearing aid and can't hear me. I really want to try another man. I've been with you for too long. It's lost its freshness. I'm starting to like those fresh-faced young guys now, obedient, young, and full of energy." Liam's face grew darker, pretending not to understand as he asked what nonsense I was muttering. But before I could say anything more, he buried his face into the crook of my neck. He didn't want to listen anymore. The puppy didn't like hearing these words. Tonight, some man pretending to be deaf had his heart quietly shattered into pieces. 9. As Liam dressed me with my eyes closed, I couldn't help but marvel once more at how inferiority complex Liam radiated such strong husband material vibes. "Darling, should I wear these black ones with red soles or these nude-colored high heels?" Liam knelt on one knee, awaiting only my command. True deafness may stem from true inferiority, but what about now? Is this pity for a drowned dog or a wolf in sheep's clothing? I propped my chin, watching him with leisurely amusement. Liam averted his face, blushing. I lifted my smooth, fair toes and placed them on his belt, sliding up bit by bit. Chest, thigh, shoulders. I tilted his chin up, watching his flawless performance and the reddening tips of his ears. With a light, low laugh, I said, "You pick for me." The high heels weren't picked well. Liam's zipper broke. "I'll change my pants, then come back to help you with your shoes." Whoa, that was powerful. I shook my head, hooked the pair of nude-colored ones, and tossed them aside. Liam seemed to prefer these black ones with red soles. Liam, after he led me all the way home from Denver, I suddenly remembered the real business at hand. I vaguely recalled that I had gone over to discuss the agreement with him. We're back from playing around and almost forgot the important matter. Let's talk about that 5-year prenuptial agreement. I rummaged through the drawer and pulled out that crumpled agreement. I didn't notice Liam, who had turned halfway away, turning back again. "Liam." No one answered, so I raised my voice. Still silence. Turning to look, I saw his hearing aid lying blatantly on the table, apparently removed at some point without notice. I grabbed the hearing aid and shoved it straight into his ear. "Put it on. I need to talk to you." Slapping the agreement onto the table, I then noticed Liam still standing frozen by the entryway. A suit jacket repeatedly slipped off its hanger. I can clearly hear him, but pretending not to when I mention the agreement. Does he want to annul it too and continue living with me? I secretly felt pleased but intended to tease him. Suppressing the corners of my lips from curling up, I deliberately dragged out my voice. "The 5 years are almost up. I feel like maybe we're not that compatible." No response. Didn't I just put his hearing aids on for him? Kicking off her high heels with a clatter, she charged up to Liam and yanked his tie ferociously. "Stop touching. You're going to rub the wool right off the suit. Are you ignoring me?" Liam looked utterly confused, pointed to his hearing aid, and croaked out, "Think it's broken." "Oh really? Keep pretending." I pulled out my phone to text him instead. A flicker of panic flashed in Liam's eyes before he grabbed the suit from the rack, threw it on, and strode out the door without looking back. "I'm going out now to get my hearing aid fixed. We'll talk later if there's anything. Oh, and I think there's still some company meeting tonight. Don't wait up for me." Me. These familiar-sounding excuses. Oh no, not again. Does he actually like me this much? 10 times more than just tonight. For a whole week, Liam hasn't come home. His texts are just MHM and O. Phone calls always lose signal at key moments. Me, seemingly drained of all energy and tactics. Can't be bothered to tease him anymore, because I've realized, I think I might actually miss him a little. I couldn't wait to see him, standing at the foot of his company building with a thermal lunchbox in hand. My palms were sweating uncontrollably, making it so slippery that I had to keep switching hands to hold the lunchbox. For some reason, I felt inexplicably nervous, though I couldn't quite figure out why. In these 5 years of marriage with Liam, we'd been just like any ordinary couple. Attended banquets together, traveled abroad together, celebrated festivals together. Yet whether holding hands tightly or sharing profound conversations, we never uttered those words of love, tacitly attributing all these actions to an arranged marriage. Surely anyone would do these things regardless of who their arranged marriage partner is, right? I used to think that way, until I realized Liam's face kept appearing in my mind every day he wasn't by my side. Liam, who shielded me on the inside when crossing the street. Liam, who habitually held me in his arms while sleeping. Liam, who dressed me when I refused to get out of bed in winter. Liam, who insisted on making me breakfast despite my habit of sleeping in. Before I knew it, Liam had already woven himself into the fabric of my daily life. I suddenly realized, who you spend your days with absolutely makes all the difference. Looking at the soup simmering in my hands, my confidence instantly wavered. I'd never stepped foot in a kitchen my entire life. Would it be so terrible that Liam might spit it out on the spot? Might as well grab takeout from a restaurant, but we're already downstairs. I closed my eyes and steeled myself. Whatever. If he gets to drink my soup, it's his good fortune. Others don't even have that privilege. I walked up to Liam's office door just as I was about to push it open. I heard arguing inside. Are you fucking insane? Do you have any idea how much that bullshit demand from Chloe's dad cost our company? It was his business partner's voice. That's a bottomless pit. Can't you see what kind of project he's making you invest in? You're just willingly swallowing the bitter pill. That's Chloe's father. Since when did loving the house extend to the crows on its roof? How many goddamn times has this happened already? Count them. How many? The partner's voice rose several octaves. The sound of a shattering glass came from the office. If you insist on investing in this project, I'll withdraw my partnership and funding. Just pretend you never had a brother like me. Angry voices echoed through the office building. Doors were slammed shut with a loud bang. The partner left. Liam was still inside briefing someone about the project, seemingly oblivious to the earlier dispute. Yet he never mentioned it to me. My father secretly made so many unreasonable demands on him. Employees passing by were still whispering in hushed tones. Fighting again? Feels like they argue every single day. If Director Liam keeps this up, is our company doomed? This isn't something we small employees should worry about. Let's go. Don't talk about it anymore. Find yourself a love-struck boyfriend like Director Liam. A greedy ghost wants everything. I never knew. I thought Dad's welcoming smile each time I came home was because my arranged marriage helped his company overcome that crisis. But it wasn't just that once. It was every time. Every single time over 5 years. How naive of me to still cling to expectations from that vampiric father. How ridiculous. There was some movement from the other side of the hallway. Liam had come out, and he saw me. I casually tossed the thermal lunchbox into the trash bin in the stairwell. Sweetheart, what brings you here? Have you eaten yet? Let me take you out. Liam flashed a smile and instinctively reached for my hand. I retreated 2 steps back. His hand fell through empty air. His smile froze on his face. I mind that you're deaf. Liam, the agreement ends here. We're getting divorced. 11. You damn fool. Hasn't Liam been good to you? How dare you bring up divorce with him? Just stepped through the door when a sharp pain exploded across my forehead. Thick, warm liquid trailed down my cheek and reached the corner of my mouth. The stench was overpowering. Staring at the shattered ashtray beside me, I turned my head woodenly to look at the man before me. This was the man for whose approval I'd once exhausted every ounce of my strength. Without understanding, I asked, Dad, do you still have even a shred of love for me? I had never met my mother. The day I was born was the day she died. From the moment I could recognize people, I loved following my father around. Back then, he wasn't like he is now. He used to buy me toys, lift me high in the air, and tell me fairy tales. I truly believed I had a father who loved me very much. But when did all this start to change? As I entered junior high school, my facial features gradually became more defined. A comment from Dad's friend, she's really starting to look more and more like her mother. The way he looked at me changed from that moment onward. The blame for Mom's death was ultimately pinned on me. Late activity fees, parent-teacher conferences no one attended, missing family events. My family wasn't poor. Dad just used lack of time as an excuse to brush me off. He was too cruel. So cruel that he was only willing to leave me with a fleeting elementary school experience, then brutally cast me aside. He didn't speak. I spoke again. Am I just some commodity in your world of fame and flattery to be used for sycophancy? I told you to marry Liam. Apart from a pair of ears that don't work well, what other condition of his isn't good enough for you? How have I treated you like a commodity? As if his anger hadn't been vented enough, he grabbed the water glass from the table and smashed it violently onto the floor. Whether venting anger or hiding guilt, he thinks I don't know his hidden schemes. Because the first choice for the marriage alliance was Liam, and he was immediately confirmed on the spot. That's why there were no more marriage candidates left. He had called so many companies. There was a pot-bellied uncle in his 50s. There was a ruthless heir from the industry with hidden health issues. And there was a man whose orientation was homosexual but forced by his parents to marry. As I looked at the man before me, once familiar yet now a stranger, I laughed until tears welled up in the corners of my eyes. Several times I wanted to expose him, to denounce him with righteous indignation. I wanted him to bow his head and apologize to me, to ask if he knew I had suffered from depression in college, to make him feel for me. But everything I desired was based on the premise of our father-daughter relationship. It was unnecessary anymore. Wiping away my tears, I pulled out a document from my bag and slapped it onto the table. Here's 500,000 as payment for raising me. From now on, we sever all father-daughter ties. 12. When bad luck strikes, even drinking cold water gets stuck between your teeth. Tossing aside the empty wine bottle, she staggered forward only to have her high heel wedge itself into a sewer grate. Gritting my teeth, I tugged and pulled for ages, still wouldn't budge. Screw it, I gave up. Leaning back unexpectedly, the anticipated chill never came. Instead, I tumbled into an embrace scented with citrus. Get up, didn't I tell you to call me when you're done? It's Liam. The voice was icy, yet laced with a suppressed rage. He's blaming me. His hand was so cold, I couldn't resist nuzzling my face against it. The wine tastes awful, I pouted in complaint. The night breeze brushed by as the alcohol continued to ferment in my brain. As Liam yanked me forcefully, I felt nothing but dizziness and a burning ache in my abdomen. I'm gonna puke. Ugh. Liam looked down at his suit, now covered in my vomit, and his face instantly turned ghostly pale. I vaguely remember he had a cleanliness obsession. Sorry Liam, I dirtied your suit. I reached out to help him clean up, but Liam suddenly pulled me several meters away. He briskly removed the suit he was wearing and tossed it into the nearby trash bin without hesitation. That suit costs 8,000 yuan. I lowered my voice guiltily under his warning gaze. After all, it was my vomit. Give me your hand. Liam scowled as he took out a handkerchief and wiped my hands. Every finger was rubbed vigorously. Liam, are you blaming me for dirtying your suit? With my eyes aching and watery, I stared at my 10 slender fingers now reddened like tiny carrots, and couldn't hold back a loud, wailing sob. Alright, so I got a little vomit on your suit. No need to be so stingy about it. You don't love me at all. If you don't love me, why did you agree to this arranged marriage? Why do you have to pity me? I struggled with all my might. Liam had a harder time holding me down than he would a squirming pig. After wrestling with it for quite a while, I finally managed to subdue it, and only then did it quiet down. My eyes were red and swollen from crying. He pressed his finger against my forehead, squinted his eyes, and let out an exasperated laugh. You don't think I love you? So all those heartfelt words I poured out to you this afternoon evaporated with a bottle of liquor. Is that it? The world flipped upside down in an instant. Liam hoisted me over his shoulder with no hint of gentleness in his movements. Wait till I get home and properly deal with you. 13 truly gave me a good thrashing. Waking up to find myself in neatly pressed new pajamas, the aroma of cooked food wafting from outside the room. Husbands truly live up to their title. Tidying up is definitely his forte. Clutching my splitting headache, I was just about to call out for Liam. The next moment, a cup of warm water pressed against my cheek. Looking up, I met Liam's cool gaze and sensed trouble brewing. He was angry, even though we had agreed just yesterday at noon. Liam rarely got angry, but when he did, he became unbearably difficult to coax. Considering the strain on my back, I decided there was nothing for it but to throw caution to the wind. I pulled back the covers and burrowed into Liam's arms. I rubbed my face fervently back and forth against his chest as I mumbled, Liam, I was wrong. He bowed his head in apology. He couldn't bear to keep treating me coldly. I straightened up and gingerly pressed my lips toward his. A couple of kisses will heal things faster. His firm middle finger blocked my puckered lips. Liam's gaze was sharp, his tone leaving no room for argument. Chloe, don't change the subject. Repeat what I said to you yesterday at noon. Hiss. There was no escaping this. My body went limp as I collapsed back onto the bed. I closed my eyes, recalling every word, every phrase. After dealing with your father's matter, call me. I'll be waiting right outside the door for you. Liam's expression remained impassive. What else? You can rely on me without reservation, use me, even, hurt me. I shut my eyes tightly, my voice growing increasingly faint. What else? And Chloe, I can't bring myself to say it. Matters of love always tie my tongue. After telling Liam about the divorce at noon yesterday, I meant to turn and leave immediately. 2 seconds later and tears would have spilled from my eyes. Yet Liam, defying my resistance, pulled me straight into his office, roughly gripped my chin, and forced me to meet his bloodshot eyes as he demanded I repeat the divorce words, that I look down on him, this deaf man. I'm no actor. Where would I get such superb acting skills? Liam was too clever, no wonder he's a businessman. After locking me in the office, he swiftly pulled up surveillance footage of my previous whereabouts and discovered I'd heard every word of his conversation with his partner. Before any misunderstanding could even take root, he forcefully tore off my disguise. It was humiliating, my vulnerabilities, hidden deep in my heart for years, laid bare before Liam. I was actually quite lucky. After seeing my true nature, he still firmly held my hand. I once desperately wished for my distant father to glance back at me, even if it were pity, even if it were charity. Yet all he left me was abandonment time and again. Even when I stood helpless and alone, he plunged me deeper into the quagmire. I've cried. I've complained. I've pleaded. None of it worked. Mental illness keeps me smiling, while my heart endures constant torment. Chloe, a voice pierced through the rift of time. I saw a blinding beam of light, so intense it made me squint, yet I still strained to see where the voice came from. 8-year-old Liam, dressed in a Superman onesie, dragged my unwilling self, sulky-faced all the while, with one hand and clutched fireworks in the other, insisting we were going to bomb the fish. Instead, he hurled one into the septic tank next to us, showering us both in filth. At 15, punk rock Liam got into a fight over me, only to accidentally spit his chewing gum onto my head, forcing me to cut the beautiful long hair I'd painstakingly grown out. Then at 18, in his awkward school uniform, teenage Liam hesitated before the college entrance exams, swallowing words he couldn't say. He flew abroad without a goodbye. And now, 30-year-old Liam steps across the gap of time, still wearing the little bear apron I bought for him, having just finished cooking for me. He gently pulls me into his embrace, his voice soft as if coaxing a child. I love you. 14, Liam asks me to try relying on him. I don't understand. Normally, he dresses me, feeds me, and even bathes me. I'm practically wiping his ass for him. How much more dependent can he be? Yet when he lifted his head from beneath me, those dewy eyes gazed up and said it still wasn't enough. I wanted to argue, but my body went slack with weakness, leaving me no choice but to yield to his every demand. 6 months later, he took me abroad as an immigrant, shifting the company's operations overseas to follow. Actually, I knew he just didn't want me to meet with Dad. Ever since we openly declared cutting ties, he'd been spreading rumors outside that I was an ungrateful daughter. The gossip couldn't have been uglier. Liam handled much of it behind my back, but some nasty whispers still reached my ears. So he said, how about we live abroad? I thought again of what he said, lean on me a little more. So I leaned on him a little more. I left all decisions to him. He would make the arrangements, and I just had to enjoy. 15, Liam made me believe once again in the saying that a person's temper is nurtured by circumstance. After another intimate moment, my mind returned to that lingering resentment, the time he abruptly left the country without a word. For whole years went missing from my life. I glanced at the man beside me, his face brimming with satisfaction as he nuzzled against my cheek over and over. His anger flared even hotter. Wife, why did you kick me? Liam lay sprawled on the ground, staring at me with a dazed expression. Was my performance just now not good enough? Then let's do it again. Someone wasn't convinced. Someone demanded a rematch. I'd truly had enough. Pushing Liam's pouting mouth away with my middle finger, I spoke through gritted teeth. Why did you leave the country right after the college entrance exams without even saying goodbye? Why did you cut off all contact after going abroad? For whole years. Except for the occasional holiday greeting, nothing. Usually so cold that we couldn't even be considered ordinary friends. Have you forgotten what you said in your sophomore year? Liam's bright eyes instantly dimmed, his whole demeanor resembling a wronged puppy. What did I say? I really don't remember. You said you liked the captain of the football team and wanted to confess to him after graduation. Tisk, seems like there was such a thing. Lost in thought, I didn't notice the dog-like whimper creeping into his voice. What did the captain look like again? Do you still have any photos of him? I nudged the dog beside me with my elbow, missed, just poked empty air. Turned around, Liam was standing naked a few meters away from me, arms crossed, facing away from me as he stood in punishment on the balcony. Oops, Liam may spoil me, but when his jealousy flares up, he's capable of scaling rooftops to tear off tiles. I'd never imagined anyone would venture into the barren wasteland that was my little world. He didn't forcibly drag me out of that desert. Instead, he leisurely sat down beside me, placing his woven hat on my head to shield me from the blinding sunlight. Then he pulled out a shovel from behind his back and squinted at me with a smile. He asked, "Can we plant flowers here?" I insisted, "Nothing can grow here." But he wouldn't believe me and insisted on trying. "Try and you'll die trying. How could flowers possibly bloom in the desert?" They bloomed. I jumped out of bed barefoot, startling Liam so much he immediately reached out to hold me. "Liam, it's blooming," I whispered as I removed his hearing aid, standing on tiptoe to kiss his left ear. "Liam, I love you," sweet words meant only for his left ear. This time, we're sure of each other's hearts. We'll never be apart. Liam side story 1. After 3 months abroad, my ears were blown deaf. Pretty funny, just kinda miss the egg tarts Chloe used to make. Followed online tutorials to make some, but the induction cooker exploded. Doctor said if the blast had been any stronger, my head would have been blown clean off. For some reason, I actually felt a bit relieved when I heard those words. At least only my ears got blown out. I still have half a life left. Maybe I'll get to see Chloe again someday. Chloe. I stared at my head swaddled in layers of bandages. Then I grew terribly sad again. Chloe likes handsome guys. I especially like those who are tall and handsome like the captain of a football team. Did I get disfigured? Seems like I'm worrying too much. Chloe doesn't like me anyway. Whether I'm disfigured or not, she wouldn't care. 2. I never thought I'd run into an old high school classmate at an international exhibition. Her words exploded in my mind like a bolt of lightning. Where's Chloe? Why didn't she come with you? Come with me? Why would you ask something like that? Seeing my confusion, my old classmate's cheerful expression froze as his brows furrowed. You don't know how she feels? Didn't she like the football team captain? I didn't even realize my own voice was trembling at the end of my sentence. What captain? She's just mimicking Sarah's way of talking. Sarah and her captain are already expecting their second child. I wanted to ask more, but then my old classmate's phone rang, and after a quick greeting, they hurried off. What else was there to ask? Didn't I already understand everything in my heart? I never imagined that something like being misunderstood and missing out would happen to me. I'm bold in speech and action, unafraid to ask questions. Yet when it comes to Chloe, I become completely tongue-tied. I slapped myself hard across the face, booked the earliest available flight, called my father. Dad, it's time for you to retire. I'm coming back to inherit the family fortune. Before my father could respond, I hung up straight away. People who play dumb don't deserve genuine love. I wouldn't miss Chloe a second time. 3. Chloe becoming my wife went smoother than I ever imagined. Her family wanted an arranged marriage. I thought the current her would look down on me with my deaf ears. Yet she immediately grabbed my ear right then, her eyes gleaming like a hungry wolf. I'll marry you. Got married, hee hee. Got a wife, hee hee. Wife wants to sign an agreement with me, hee hee. Wait. Why is it an agreement to divorce after 5 years? Wah, no more hee hee, no more hee hee, whatever. Anyway, in 5 years, I'll definitely find a way to keep her. Chloe moved into my house, yet I acutely sensed something about her had changed. She would even wake up early to cook for me and pick out my clothes, and she started yielding to me when we disagreed. Not like a wife, more like a nanny. The sky is falling. Who trained my wife to be like this? I sent someone to investigate her past 4 years. The moment I received the medical records, my trembling hands couldn't be controlled, and my heart ached as if being gouged out with a dagger. Sunshine depression. How could Chloe have gotten this illness? How could she be depressed? What exactly did she go through during those 4 years I missed? When the investigation results came out, I couldn't bring myself to look. Those experiences were things Chloe had never voluntarily shared with me. Countless times I wanted to confront her father, even to give him a good beating. Yet every time I accompany her home, the way she looks at her father still holds love. It's the cry of a love-starved daughter reaching out to her dad. I unclench my fist. Reason tells me I can't hurt someone Chloe loves. I won't do a single thing that could make her sad. I started helping her father with projects, regardless of whether they were loss-making or thorny. As long as Chloe's father could greet her with a smile when she came home, making her a little happier, I'd do it all. Anything. Fortunately, I had the entire Anderson group at my disposal. I could squander it all without hesitation. That day when I discovered my hearing was improving, I jumped for joy, itching to rush home and tell Chloe that her husband wasn't deaf after all. But the next second, I thought of Chloe's illness again. Over these years, I've actually managed to take pretty good care of her. She loves sleeping in, loves eating heartily, and when she's unhappy she'll even pull out my hearing aid to scold me. She smugly thinks I don't know, but those curse word lip movements could be guessed even if read backwards. Forget it. I put the hearing aid back in my ear, so that this little brave but not too brave cutie wouldn't hesitate to scold me. Chloe is much more adorable when she's true to herself, but I didn't expect her to not only scold me, but also talk dirty in bed. The first time I heard it, I nearly lost control and burst out laughing. The second time I heard it, I pretended not to know and buried myself in my work. The third time I heard it, I thoroughly enjoyed it and secretly relished the moment. Not sure where they picked it up, but as long as it works on me. It was only later that I found out she had known all along about my feigned deafness. She also said it was hilarious how my face turned beet red with rage in bed, yet I didn't dare say a word. I understand. I'll tell Mr. Miller to cancel. I curled my lips into a cold smile. Someone cowered in the corner, trying to slip away. He grabbed her ankles, pinned her waist, and pressed down on her. Pretty hilarious, indeed. Come, repeat to me every single word you've ever said before, word for word. One word less, one more time. Before gathering my strength, I lowered my head and kissed her lips. Begin now. 5. When rich, I indulge. When poor, I drift. When faced with power, I yield. When tempted by lust, I succumb. Without beating, I confess. With beating, I cry. When I'm angry, I vent it. When I have money, I spend it. When I'm sick, I fake it. When I'm hungry, I eat it. When I'm thirsty, I drink. When I'm sleepy, I nap. But when there's work, I don't do it. When there's hardship, I won't take it. After another spat with Chloe, She suddenly spewed this inexplicable nonsense she must have picked up from somewhere. Me, honestly, she kinda made sense. Liam, I want a cupcake. Chloe stood with her hands on her hips, bossing me around fiercely before turning to water the little roses she kept on the balcony with a watering can. The weather is beautiful today. My flower is watering her flower. I've been looking forward to days like these for a very, very long time. The end.